Courtrooms are supposed to be places of sobriety, order, and respect. They are the places where decisions that affect people's lives are made, where justice is sought, and where society's rights and wrongs are scrutinized. But not every defendant recognizes or acknowledges the seriousness of these areas. Judges, attorneys, and members of the public have been left in disbelief by a number of stunning courtroom incidents that have made headlines in America in recent years. In addition to undermining the legal system, these instances of disrespect also show how difficult it is for the legal system to uphold decency and respect. Here, we look at some of the most outrageous and impudent incidents that have occurred in American courts. Number 8. Nathaniel Brazill's furious outburst. In 2001, Brazill faced a trial that stunned the country as well. The 14-year-old child named Brazill was on trial for the murder of Barry Grunow, his instructor. With Brazill potentially receiving a life sentence for the offense, the trial was emotionally charged. Brazill responded with stunning and heartbreaking outbursts of wrath throughout the trial. He once turned to face the family of the victim and apologized, "I'm sorry, but I don't care," before sobbing uncontrollably. This particular instance was especially unsettling since it brought to light the conflicting feelings of a young defendant who appeared to be both sorry and uninterested. Normally a place of restrained emotion, the courtroom was transformed into a visceral and frightening presentation of a damaged teenager dealing with the fallout from his actions. Brazill's outburst was extremely hurtful to the victim's family, who were hoping for justice for their loved one, in addition to showing disrespect for the court. Number 7. The murderer who made fun of the victim's family. In 2008, one of the most horrifying acts of contempt was shown in court during a trial of convicted murderer Michael Woodmansee. After being found guilty of the 5-year-old boy's death, Woodmansee sat in the courtroom grinning as the victim's family gave their impact statements. He even chuckled and mouthed insults to the bereaved family at one point, which infuriated everyone in attendance. This was not only extremely disrespectful, but also quite unsettling. It exposed a man who had done a horrible act to have absolutely no humanity or regret. The victim's family, subjected to the killer of their child's death threats, had to undergo a nightmare in the courtroom, a place where justice was supposed to be served. The public was shocked by Woodmansee's conduct, which also brought attention to the necessity for more stringent legal protocols to shield the relatives of victims from pain. Number 6. The defiant teenage murderer. T.J. Lane, a 17-year-old who killed 3 classmates in a school shooting in Chardon, Ohio, went on trial in 2014. His startling courtroom demeanor gained notoriety. Lane took off his dress shirt during his sentencing, revealing a white t-shirt with the word "killer" inscribed on it. After that, he gave the families of the victims a sly smile and an explicit gesture, stating, "This hand that pulled the trigger that killed your sons now masturbates to the memory. F you all." Lane's acts were a horrible act of disobedience and complete disregard for the court, the victims, and their families. They were left in stunned silence as they departed the courtroom after his astounding comments and gestures. This incident was especially upsetting because it demonstrated how some people can be callously insensitive to the suffering they have created, even in the face of the worst outcomes. Lane's actions acted as a sobering reminder of the evil that certain people are capable of harboring and the difficulties the legal system encounters when addressing these criminals. Number 5. The unrepentant cop killer. The court saw yet another upsetting act of disrespect in 2016 during the trial of Markeith Lloyd, who was charged with killing both a police officer and his pregnant ex-girlfriend. Self-represented in court, Lloyd often cut off proceedings, screamed at the judge, and displayed no regret for his crimes. He also yelled, "Y'all make me sick," and accused the judge of being prejudiced against him at one point. In addition to being disruptive, Lloyd's actions demonstrated a clear disrespect for the legal system. His violent behavior and unwillingness to comply with the court made the trial a trying and emotionally taxing experience for all parties. The difficulties judges and lawyers encounter when defending aggressive, unrepentant offenders who have no regard for the courtroom or the lives they have taken were brought to light by Lloyd's case. Number 4. The serial killer who made fun of his victims. Ted Bundy's courtroom disrespect is one of the most well-known incidents. Bundy represented himself during his trial in the late 1970s, and he frequently displayed haughty and conceited behavior. Throughout the hearings, he frequently cracked jokes and smiled, even while the graphic facts of his crimes were being presented. Bundy even made a courtroom proposal to his girlfriend, Carol Ann Boone, at one point, making the trial a spectacle. The way that Bundy behaved served as a terrifying reminder of his psychopathic inclinations. The country was startled by his lack of regret and willingness to make fun of the justice system, the families of his victims, and himself. Bundy's acts illustrated the dreadful charm and cunning of certain criminals, who may utilize the legal system as a platform for their own perverse goals. One of the most notorious cases of a defendant demonstrating total indifference to the seriousness of the situation is still his trial. Number 3. The child abuser who laughed during his sentencing. In 2019, the courtroom was once again surprised by the defendant's actions at the sentencing of a man guilty of torturing and killing his girlfriend's small daughter. The man grinned and chuckled as the judge announced his life sentence, displaying no regret for his deeds. His response infuriated the victim's relatives, who were in the courtroom, and the judge had to issue an order. The victim's family had already lost a kid, so this moment was especially difficult for them. The defendant's laughter served as a harsh reminder of some people's lack of empathy in addition to being impolite. It brought to light the emotional toll that these trials may have on the bereaved families, as well as the difficulties the court system faces in dealing with offenders who have no regard for the law or the lives they have ruined. Number 2. The disrespectful rapist. The court saw another startling instance of disrespect in 2016 during the trial of Brock Turner, a Stanford University student found guilty of sexually assaulting a woman who was unconscious. Turner didn't exhibit much regret for his acts during the trial. He was given a contentious 6-month term, but the entire depth of his disdain was revealed during the victim's impact statement. Turner avoided making eye contact and seemed disinterested as the victim made her moving and intense statement. Many people were incensed by Turner's lack of regret and disregard for the victim's suffering, which led to a nationwide uproar. His actions in court not only belittled the victim, but also brought attention to more general problems with privilege and laxity in the legal system. The Turner case served as a focal point for supporters of victims of sexual assault and changed California's sentencing guidelines. Number 1. The patronizing businessman. Bernard Madoff, the financier responsible for one of the biggest Ponzi scams in history, received a 150-year prison sentence in 2009. Madoff acted in a composed and patronizing manner during the trial, paying little attention to the thousands of people whose lives he had destroyed. He expressed regret to his victims at his sentencing, but many thought his words lacked sincerity. Madoff's actions in court contrasted sharply with the destruction he had inflicted. Many of his victims were incensed by his cool, almost dismissive attitude toward the proceedings, believing that he had not fully realized the magnitude of his actions. The trial of Madoff brought to light the obstacles in prosecuting white-collar criminals and making sure they fully comprehend the consequences of their acts. In summary, courts are venues where people go to seek justice and defend the rule of law. But occasionally, the outrageous and impolite actions of some defendants have threatened to overshadow the gravity and dignity of these proceedings. These instances of contempt, which range from cavalier attitudes and furious outbursts to overt mocking and apathy, not only shock the public, but also provide serious obstacles for the legal system. They act as a reminder of the challenges and complications involved in enforcing the law, especially when dealing with offenders who have no regard for the law or the persons they have wronged. In order to ensure that all parties, victims, defendants, and legal professionals alike are treated with the dignity and seriousness that the legal system deserves, the justice system must adapt as society changes and figure out how to keep the courtroom orderly and respectful. We should all take action to maintain the ideals of justice, respect, and humanity in every part of our lives in response to the horrific instances of contempt we have observed in American courtrooms. Hit that subscribe button to watch more videos from our channel. See you in the next one.